everything I learned. I made a lot of phone calls, gathered all the info, listened to a lot of interviews, and then I just kind of made a list. So I've got this folder here in front of me. And that way I kind of stay on track. But all right, so timeline of Sebastian. Here we go. So the autistic teenager was last seen by his mother and stepfather when he went to bed. This actually isn't exactly true. His stepfather was not home, but when he went to bed on the night of the 25th of February, the whole story is that he went to bed at about 9 o'clock. Mom hears some shuffling or something at like 10 o'clock. And then the next morning when she goes to wake him, he's not there. And so she claims to look all around the house, looks all around, maybe the exterior of the home. And then she's like freaking out, frantic, like any of us would be, right? If we're missing our baby. The canines tracked his scent through a construction area and into a retention pond. The pond was then drained, but they still did not find anything. So let's see. So all this started on February 26th, and now we're on March 21st, and there's still no answers as far as what happened to him goes. Now, what's a little bit odd to me is that they haven't raised more money as a reward to find him. I think last I see here, $3,500 has been posted as the as the reward for finding him. I'm sorry, but we've seen cases where it's like 80,000, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000. This, just saying, that's a very low reward, in my opinion. All right, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of all this. Then a landfill, a landfill was searched in Kentucky. That was on March 7th. And I think what led investigators to the landfill was the garbage men. The garbage men claimed that the trash that was taken out that day, because garbage was collected on Monday morning at about 5:12 a.m. And the garbage people claimed that the trash was a bit heavier than usual, which I don't know how they even gauge something like that, but somehow that tip is what led them to the landfill. As of right now, both the mom and stepdad, I would say they're compliant, but in a lot of ways, it's hard to say. They're compliant, but like the stepdad is super argumentative. I don't know if you guys have seen the interviews and stuff, but he's quick to anger. You can definitely see that. No doubt about it. What you need to know, though, is about these weird, bizarre lights. I'm sure you guys have heard about them, but let's get into the lights because I think it all ties together somehow. Let me share this with you. Okay. These lights are bizarre, man.
The video you're about to see is from early Monday morning, February 26th, around 3:10 a.m. Now, there are no street lights in the Stafford Court neighborhood, so it is at night, pitch black. What you will see here are these 2 points of light believed to be people with flashlights in the area around Sebastian Rogers' Hendersonville home. It is believed Sebastian left his home barefoot and with a flashlight sometime overnight. Since his disappearance, authorities have reviewed security video from homes in the neighborhood looking for clues.
We have had several clips that have come in.
And this one is getting the most attention, showing signs of activity around Sebastian's home the night he disappeared. You see, 2 light sources, which we've circled to help you follow. For point of reference, the security camera was pointed toward the back of Sebastian's home in a common area. In the video, you see subject 1 with a light source in the lower right-hand corner. Then you see subject 2 briefly appear and move toward the first before that light source is covered or obscured by bushes. Subject 1, a few seconds later, then moves out of frame. Then subject 2 reappears and follows subject 1.
Let me tell you real quick. The camera that observed these lights was on I think it's Kellen Lane. Okay, so Kellen Lane, from what I've seen on the map, runs parallel with Stafford Court, which is the street that they were on. So this is basically a home that's likely behind them or offset maybe to the left or to the right, but behind them. So it captured these unusual lights that were at, a reasonable distance from each other. But what were the lights? They came on at 3:10 a.m., February 26th, which was that Monday that he disappeared. So continue this.
One off screen. It's a short time later and it's very vague, but then you see one of the subjects moving quickly back through the common area, and that is it. I know there's not much to see here. You certainly cannot identify anyone, but those close to the investigation tell me the mere fact that there is now evidence that someone is in the area around Sebastian's home is significant. This video shows suspicious activity in the immediate area the night Sebastian disappeared. Could one of these subjects have been Sebastian? Did he meet and leave with someone? Sebastian's father says his son would not go with a stranger.
It's up in the air for me because I don't think he would get into a vehicle with somebody unless he knew them.
So what exactly are we seeing here? I know investigators are doing what they can to try enhancing the video for any more clues. For now, this video is now part of the Sebastian Rogers missing person file, and I'm told it could become more significant depending on where the ongoing investigation leads. We'll be following that. Nick Barris, News Channel.
In my opinion, Nick Barris has been doing a wonderful job, guys. Let's get into the information that I've got. At the very least, it's going to be pretty interesting. All right, first thing you didn't know, that Trev Time, he's another YouTube creator, he reported a couple days ago that a neighbor, somebody, I guess it was a neighbor, told him that there was a foreign car that came into that neighborhood spotted around 3 a.m. This completely, in my opinion, corresponds with these unusual lights. But what does it actually mean, right? Does it mean that the parents in some way had something to do with it? Great question. Don't know. But what I can tell you is I talked to several different individuals. I'm going to go over what they said. Okay. So there are no street lights on that street, or I guess on any of those streets around there in the middle of the night because of I guess there's no HOA. So it's completely pitch black in that neighborhood, which makes it incredibly hard for a camera to capture, what's even going on. I'm sure the TVI and stuff has had to really adjust the lighting to try to get any image whatsoever because it's just so dark. What I was told is every single thing that Katie has said, as of now, Katie is the mother of Sebastian, that every single thing she has said at this point checks out exactly to what she could see surveillance-wise. So what she observed when she went back through her footage was at 5:12, the trash came. Okay, that would have been on Monday morning. At about 6:20, mom comes out. It could have even been 6:30. It was sometime in that window. Mom comes out. She sees neighbors. There's multiple neighbors outside at that point, and she starts saying, I can't find Sebastian anywhere. I can't find him anywhere. Now, I don't think she's much said that part of the story, that she actually came outside of her home and she was frantic, I guess, looking high and low for her son. Then she got into her vehicle, went over, I think, what was the school potentially. That's what it's believed anyway. She was only gone for about maybe, let's say, 10 minutes at most, maybe 5 to 10 minutes at most. Came back, and from there, it's odd to me. I think it was, what was it? The TB. Hold on, let me double check before I say. I think it was the TBI, or we'll just say law enforcement. Law enforcement was not actually called until am I correct in saying it, 11? let me double check. I don't want to say it wrong here, but I think it was like 11 o'clock. And at this point, you got to remember, this is like 6:30 in the morning. Then the biological dad, Seth Rogers, he gets a message from, I think it was Katie, at about 7:20 saying, 911, can't find Sebastian, something like that. I'm pretty sure Chris, so the stepdad of Sebastian, he ends up coming back into town. Again, he was in Memphis working on this project. He comes back in at, I think, of around 1 p.m. All right. So what I know is, so a lot of people are speculating that maybe he vanished before the point that we know of, Monday morning, right? That's not actually possible at this point. Let me tell you why. Because he was seen on camera Friday afternoon at about 3 p.m., which would have been right after school got out. He went, he checked the mail, went back into the house. Then he's seen on Saturday around, I want to say it was 6 something. It could have been after they got back from their dinner, because I guess they went, wait, was that on Saturday? You know what? No, it was on Saturday evening, but I can't say it was around a dinner time. But it was Saturday evening. He's observed skipping and hopping along, checks the mail, goes back in to the garage, and then goes probably back into the house. Then on Sunday, so Sunday being the day before he disappears, he is observed taking the trash out pretty late at night. I can't remember if it was like 6 or 7, but it was somewhat late at night. I guess if you don't get your trash out early, you're gonna miss the opportunity. So the trash guy comes in like so early, and on that day he came at 5:12 a.m. What I understand, the only lights that were on were the garage lights. When Katie says that she put him to bed at 9 o'clock, the lights went out at exactly 9:08 p.m. Then at about 11:45, her light goes out, Katie's light. So the mother's. There is no, how she says that she hears like a shuffle or something around 10. There's no absolute proof of that happening as far as lights or anything go. So we don't know about that. But Chris, this person told me Chris was not seen the entire month of February. People observed Chris when he did come home that day, and the embrace that they had was really it was powerful. It was the look of grief. It was the look of being scared. Now, let me tell you, not all this information I'm going to be giving you is good and sunshine and rainbows. Some of it is not good. This was the better of what I heard. Okay. But I want to tell you everything. That way you can kind of get an idea and make up your own mind, for what you think happened. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of us are really stumped. One moment, I'm like, this is so obvious. We know who did this. A kid doesn't just disappear. But then in the next moment, it's like, well, what happened? This is bizarre. And to answer Holly's question, hey, Holly, did he have his glasses? Yes, supposedly his glasses and his flashlight are among the things that are missing. Supposedly. Okay, so I want to tell you this next thing that happened. Just a second. All right, so for about a week to follow his disappearance, Katie had his hat, his shoes, and a blanket on the front porch. And one morning she was observed coming out the door, leaning over the railing and screeching Sebastian's name and crying and screaming like crazy, like Sebastian, like a mother would act. Law enforcement came to each of the neighbors' homes, searched their entire home, their attic, their drain pipes. There was multiple dogs, law enforcement on horseback for 7 straight days. Law enforcement was in and out of the Proudfoot home for probably the first couple weeks. It's so confusing. This is crazy. That's all I can say. Their backyard is fenced with about a 4-foot tall plus, fence that would be difficult to get over. I asked if law enforcement had come into Chris and Katie's home and done like a full forensics investigation, like with luminol and all that. And I was told that they've taken photos, and you probably heard this part because I think it has been said elsewhere. They've taken photos all around the home, like every square inch. I don't think that they've done the whole luminol thing yet. They were in the attic. They took photos of every square inch of the home, exterior, etc. And then I said, people are uneasy with the changing story of Katie and how she heard rummaging at 10-ish, p.m. And I was told that that is the exact same story that was said day one. So if mom is BSing here, she has stayed extremely consistent with her story, which is interesting. One detail that she hasn't mentioned, though, was, like I was saying, the point where she does run outside, where she does get in her vehicle and she runs, goes and explores the neighborhood to see if she can find him. So it's like, what happened? This is crazy. But I want to tell you, what was observed was the living room light on, the garage light on. There was a door that was open. And I think it was open for a long period of time. Could that have been the entrance for, now I'm just going to be hypothetical here, okay? For somebody to come in, if this was some sort of a staged, manufactured, whatever, who knows? I want to tell you, Sebastian was born with fluid that surrounds his brain. It's on I think it's the right side, bilateral side of his brain. With any impact of significance, it would end his life. Okay. It's a very, very sensitive issue, his head, as far as any, situation goes where he's in a physical, whether it's like a physical altercation or something, it could easily end his life. So that's one thing that really stood out to me, that, let's just say if a parent got really pissed and they reacted out of anger, that he's very much on the brink of not being here, if somebody got angry enough to do something. All right. So they have a PIN code lock on the front door and garage door. There is one door that doesn't have either a PIN code lock or anything, for obvious reasons. I'm not I do know which door that is, but I'm not going to say here because, it is what it is. Supposedly a smell, the scent of Sebastian ends at a construction site and then into that retention pond area. I asked if maybe, is it possible that he could have gone out a window? And I was told that when this person was in the home, all screens were on the windows. There was one window that used to be easily opened, but since the new, owners came in, Katie and Chris, it's not so much anymore. And it's now blocked off from being utilized. So screens are covering both the bottom and the top windows. Because that was my first instinct. Well, did he go out a window? What's the deal here? It's very confusing. Sebastian's bedroom is not on the back of the house. It's actually on the front of the home. So if he were to dip out, he could walk right through that front door, but there would have been a record of it. And who knows, maybe that record, exists and law enforcement has it, I'm sure, right? From what I understand, people who have come into contact with Sebastian, they say he's very kind, very well-mannered, helpful kid. Maybe a touch of awkwardness, just like, most any other kid, really, especially if they have if they're on the spectrum, there's a possibility that could be the case, right? I asked if there's any new people in the neighborhood. No, nothing of note. There's actually a sheriff that lives right close to there. So it's even extra secure in that regard. Does mom park in garage regularly? I asked. Yes, always. Mom always parks in the garage. Chris has a big truck. It doesn't fit in the garage. His RV was with him the whole time. So Chris, he was gone. He was out of this equation. again, I say, with a very well orchestrated, planned, collaborated effort, I feel like people can pull off almost anything, right? But the question is, why would they? And I found out today, by the way, that the bio dad has life insurance on Sebastian. I thought that was a little, I mean, not that that's, yeah, some people have life insurance on their kids. But that just struck me as just a little bit odd, just something to note, okay? I'm just giving you the facts I know. So I asked, do you think TBI is eyeing mom? And as of now, not according to this person, I'm just reading according to this person. It has been said they took her in, questioned her, everything. She said the first day, and she said continuously that she's just been racking her brain to see what she's missed. I don't know. People were asked. So law enforcement went door to door. Like I said, they were searching attics, everything, crawl spaces, pipes, drainage, whatever. They were asked, was there ever anything strange or weird going on over here? Any inappropriate parties, activities, any bruising, anything? And they said no, nothing that they could see. But, our neighbors don't know everything about us. Our friends don't know everything about us. Our family even sometimes doesn't know everything about us. So could something be missed? Of course. But the possibility I saw in this was the one, what's the right word? Like the one thing, the one variable, how about that? Is that she parks her car in the garage. That light was on the entire night. So if the light to the garage was on the entire night, I feel like, could that suggest that, again, with a very well-planned plan, you would keep lights on. You would want everything to stay exactly as it should be so you could carry out what it is you want to carry out. So it looks, so by the outside, right, from the outsider looking in, everything looks unassuming and just normal. That's what makes me wonder, you guys, is that whole garage situation. Is there more to it? Katie is trained in MMA. She can whoop some ass if she wants to. Just going to throw that out there. Let me see. Supposedly, and you've probably heard this, but supposedly Sebastian is really scared of Chris. And I think if you've seen interviews, right, already at this point, it's very obvious that Chris has a way of maybe he's just super brash. How can I put it? An a-hole, like whatever you want to say, fill in the blanks. But would he have reason to take, Sebastian out of the equation? Now, from what I understand, and gosh, I don't know if I should say this. Have been an ultimatum a while back because I don't want to go deeper than that at this moment. Hope you guys understand. If they are completely innocent of this, I don't want to pile on to the stress they have. But is it still fishy? It's very fishy, guys. Like a kid doesn't just disappear in the middle of the night. That's not normal. When I get up in the morning to get my kids ready for school, when I walk into their room, I expect to see them every single day. So kids don't, in my opinion, kids don't just disappear in the night. So this spot or this spotting, what's the, guys, it is nerve-wracking doing live streams. I should just tell you that ahead of time. This foreign car that was spotted in the neighborhood around 3 a.m. Is there more to that story? That's what I wonder. And these lights, the lights that are seen a great distance from each other, then they sort of like come together a bit, and then that is fishy. So I say again, with a planned execution right? You can make a lot of things happen. And in this case, I wonder if there was a third party involved. That's honestly what I wonder. I don't know. This is really something. I'm going to read some of your guys' comments because I got to know what you're thinking too. It's a perplexing case. It is absolutely bizarre. Yeah. Guys, say what you want here. You're free to speak. Yes, Donna has looked into this. Yeah. I really wish she would do something publicly on it, but she's not at this time. I'll just say it's not so good. But then, like many of you probably see the interviews and then you go, no, it seems like they're telling the truth at certain points, right? That's the hard part, is it's very fishy 1 minute, and then all of a sudden it seems to sort of make sense. Like I said, one of the people I talked to was saying, I looked for it. I looked for the car in the night. I looked for all this stuff. I didn't see anything of suspicion. All that was on the surveillance was exactly what was talked about from her end of the story, from Katie's end of the story. Yeah. Oh yeah, Mrs. Clem, for sure. There's a lot to know. Absolutely. The thing is there's this precious 15-year-old. He's out there somewhere. Where did he go? Who was he with? Let's just say if it wasn't the parents, was he groomed by somebody? Let's say on the school bus, that he would ride the school bus to school. So there could have been people that mom and dad and stepdad didn't know about. I'm trying to see this from both ends. I'm trying to be balanced here. Not just gunning for parents, not just saying that they didn't do anything. It is really hard to know what happened here. Now, I think certain people could absolutely tell us, but they're not talking right now. All right, let's see. He comes across as a tyrant to a lot of people. He seems quick to anger. He really has it out for a lot of YouTube creators, I'm noticing. And you know what? If I was in his position and if I really hadn't done anything, I would probably be really annoyed, but that wouldn't be my number one focus. My number one focus would be to find my stepson. And I know you guys agree. It wouldn't be what are the Facebook groups saying about me. It would be, how can I get out there? How can I let enough people know today that this is my stepson? He needs to be found. His mom and I are missing him. His biological dad's missing him. His friends, everybody misses him. We got to find him. But instead, it's like, how does he have time to go online and talk, shoot the breeze with people? That's crazy. Yeah, 5 times married. He's on his 5th wife. Yeah, crazy. I know. Let me see. I've got a list of these wives too. There was an interview last night, and I think it was last night. It was either last night or really early this morning. And he listed off all the ex-wives. Said there's Vanessa, Stephanie, Rachel, Nina. He has a biological child, I think, with Nina, and they live in New Mexico. He has some sort of a case going in New Mexico. Then he was asked about, what was it, CPS, and has CPS ever visited him? And he said that this case with Sebastian is one of them, but also there was another time, I think there was 2 others, if I remember correctly. There was one time that Sebastian might have gotten disciplined or something, and then he ended up telling somebody, maybe a teacher, I don't know. And Child Protective Services came to the home, then interviewed, I guess, the family. And that was the extent of that, he claims. But then also in New Mexico, I think he has a case there as well, if I'm remembering this correctly. It's crazy. Now, another thing that I found a little bit odd was that he doesn't allow his daughter, his biological, so this is stepdad, okay? Sebastian's stepdad, Chris, doesn't allow his biological daughter to be around Sebastian. I don't know why that is. And I respect the fact that he's not going to talk about it, but I still wonder, why is that? What would the problem be? From what I see and from what I hear, he's a gentle, sweet kid. Why would you kind of, I don't know, keep him away from your daughter? Is there something more that maybe we don't know that they're not talking about? Is there hidden abuse that nobody really knows about yet, that hasn't surfaced? Now, I do know that Katie has alcohol problems in the past. I don't know about now, but alcoholism is definitely a problem. Possibly bipolar in the family. I don't know if she's directly, somebody that has bipolar disorder, but oh, thank you, Cindy. You're sweet. Yeah. Like I said, it's a bit nerve-wracking, guys, to do live streams. There is no dress rehearsal for these. You just go out and you deliver. So I apologize if it's all over the place, but I'm just trying to make sense of everything I've heard up to now, relay it to you guys. And that way you kind of know, does this add up? Does this not add up? Because it is extremely mysterious. What do you guys make of those lights, though? I know a lot of people are disregarding them and kind of saying, well, I think it's probably just a sensor that went off. But to me, it's actually like flashlights that they're moving. You can't just disregard moving lights, can you? Thank you, Christina. Christina Marie. You hit my kid with a belt in. Yeah, what she's referring to is Chris admitted in the most recent live stream that he one time, I think, hit Sebastian with a belt. So I'll tell you what, if I was married to somebody that I didn't have kids with and I had my own, right, in a step parent situation, there'd be no touching my babies. It just wouldn't work. So I'm surprised that she's given him that, I guess, authority. That's very surprising to me. The lights are extremely important. Yes, Brenda, the lights are extremely important. I agree. It is very confusing, Jam. Very. Let me see if there's some more important stuff here. Okay, this is weird. Supposedly there are cameras inside of their home. Okay, that's what I heard anyway. But then there's no further explanation. If there's cameras in the home, then why don't we know what happened to Sebastian? It'd be real fish flavored if those got disconnected, right? Kind of like in the Suzanne Morphew case, right? In the garage where the cameras were unhooked, the whole surveillance system to the house was unhooked. But again, cameras in the home, well, that should tell the story already. If he came out of his room to exit the home, there would be a record of that. Who knows? Maybe TBI has it. Hell if I know. I don't know. Has the mom been questioned without stepdad? That's the thing, you guys. It does seem, and again, I say I'm all over the place. You're going to have to excuse me for that. It does seem like he talks for her, on behalf of her, an awful lot. Now, could that be because she's in a great deal of, duress, stress, she's worried about her baby? Or is it because it's easier to let somebody talk for you if you've done something nefarious? Yeah, I don't know. There's no way my boyfriend would ever hit my children. He'd be gone. I call the police on him. So would I. Yeah, that wouldn't happen. And I know it's easy for us all to sit here and criticize parents and stuff. You know how hard it is to be a parent. We all do. It is the most thankless job in the world, but the most important. And it's hard. So I understand that sometimes we're going to make mistakes. We're going to say things we shouldn't or do things that we shouldn't. But here we're talking about a missing kid that is unaccounted for, hasn't been seen in over 3 weeks, mysterious lights, a mysterious car in the neighborhood. The one thing that occurs to me is like, is this a third party thing? Right? Third party meaning, could somebody have hired this out if they really wanted it to happen? I know that Sebastian was about to go live pretty soon, I think after this semester, if I'm not mistaken, with his biological dad, who's in Clarksville, Tennessee. So he would no longer be, Seth, the dad, would no longer be paying Katie child support. Could that have impacted anything? I don't know. Does that have any bearing in this story that he was about to no longer live with his mom and stepdad? But again, why would a mom or a stepdad want to do anything, nefarious because the son's leaving? There's got to be information we don't know, and understandably so. We're not going to know everything, not for a while. But supposedly, according to what I know so far, all 3 have basically been cleared. So Chris has, Katie has, and Sebastian's biological dad, Seth, has. It's just they're not coming out and saying it. And I don't know why they're not coming out to say it. It would honestly reduce a lot of the speculation and insanity that's going on if they would just be honest. But maybe they're also digging deep into the details, trying to figure out what really happened here. All right. Hey, criminal gossiper with Elsie. Thank you for all the details. I hope he will be found safe. Yeah, I hope so too. And guys, back to the fluid that surrounds his brain. To me, that's a really big deal. If with any impact on this precious boy's head, it could kill him. So let's say for a moment you are acting out of anger. Not that I don't think a lot of people would ever strike their kid, but I'm just saying, it happens. That could kill him. Could kill him. It's very scary to imagine. Cindy Collins says stepdad and mom have not been cleared. So they haven't technically been cleared in front of the public, but behind the scenes, supposedly TBI has told them that they're not finding anything. So like you would have to pull off one hell of a seriously slick operation to not be detected yet by TBI, by local law enforcement. This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Another thing I'll tell you too, while we're here, is that supposedly Chris was really upset when he found out that Katie had taken a polygraph test. Like he got mad and was concerned about the fact that she had taken one, even though she supposedly passed. But I was also told that narcissistic people, and a person I talked to claims that that's the type of personality she has, that they could pass lie detectors, that they're the types that can lie straight to your face and you'll believe it. Could that make the whole Chris talking on behalf of her make more sense? Right? If she just lets him talk for her and she appears as the grieving mom, I don't know. Like I said, guys, I'm in an awkward position. I don't want to make their lives harder if they truly are innocent. But I also don't want to sit here and say that these people are blameless because I just don't know. I know what Donna says she saw, and it's different. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, again, no shoes. Who's going to leave their home with no shoes in the middle of the night? Could there have been a handover with the lights? Right? You're carrying a person, hand them over. That person then takes them into a vehicle and exits the neighborhood. I don't know. Could he still be in the house? That's the thing, is you got to think of the whole, putrefaction? The whole, when your body starts to break down, right? That would stink really bad if he was in the house. I can't think of a way you could really get away with doing that unless he was encased in some sort of concrete or they dug really deep. I don't see it. Doesn't mean it's not possible, though. I mean, look at Tylee and JJ in Chad Daybell's backyard. He was able to carry that out for what, 8 months or so? Have them in the backyard? That's crazy. Yeah, I don't see how he's still alive unless he is seriously being held somewhere by a third party. Again, though, why? Why would this happen? Donna L, to answer your question, I just don't want to speak on behalf of her. We'll just say impact to head, okay? Read between the lines. Impact to head. That was what was sensed. If Katie is an MMA fighter, I'm sure she's probably very strong. Heck yeah. And she was in the military for a number of years. Yeah, a lot of people get the Letitia Stout vibes as well. I know. Guys, real quick while you're in there, would you please do me a favor? Hit that like button. If you could do that, that would help with the algorithm so much. What kind of questions do you guys have that maybe I could answer while I'm here? Your son is missing. You call dad. I know that part is so fishy. Like calling. She called him like an hour after she knew he was missing. I think that's quite a while. And what I'm referring to, if you guys are new here. So Xtina Marie is saying, no way your son is missing. You call dad, period. No way. Mom figures out, I think around 6:20, 6:30, she runs outside. Okay. To say to people outside, neighbors and stuff, I can't find Sebastian anywhere. But the text message does not go out to Sebastian's bio dad until like 7:20. That's like an hour later. That's a really long time. And why in that moment, instead of saying, I can't find Sebastian, wouldn't she have wondered first, did maybe Sebastian's bio dad have him? You know, well, could that have been a possibility in that moment? But why wasn't that explored? And who knows? It could have been that we don't know that, right? But I just wonder, you know, did she say, hey, did you like come pick him up or something? He's missing. I can't find him. His flashlight's gone. His shoes are here. His phone is here. His glasses are gone. So at this point, though, when you think of all those little factoids there, he left with no shoes on. Bio dad talks about him being a young kid and stepping into an ant pile and getting, I guess, just attacked by fire ants. So he's always been really good about having his shoes on when he's outside. And when he's inside, he takes his shoes off, like a lot of people, you know, have as their, you know, standard way of going about being in your house. Like you take your shoes off at the door. That's how we did it in Hawaii. I'm not great about that anymore in this house, but years ago when we lived in Hawaii, that was just how it was. And I don't know if it stems a lot from Asian culture or whatever, but a lot of people, that's how they do it. They take their shoes off at the door, leave them there. We all want to ask, what did Donna say? That's the thing, guys. I wish she would just talk about it, but there was an indication that there was impact potentially. Like she did not go full into a read, but that is what flashed in her mind. I hope that makes sense, guys. I'm sorry I have to be so vague. I don't want to put her in a position, you know. And I don't know that she saw much more than that, just so you know. Let's see. Seth was working and got off at 7 a.m. He got the message at 7:20 and was at the mom's house by 8. Yeah. So he hauled ass from Clarksville to Hendersonville in that, 40-minute span to go be there for his ex-wife. You know, I feel bad for bio dad. You can tell that he's that Sebastian is a huge part of his life. And now he's missing his baby. It's terrible. All right. There was one other thing I was going to read you guys. It was a synopsis. Oh, hold on a second. Let me find it. Oh, yeah. It was, if you haven't seen the Nancy Grace interview with Seth Rogers, the bio dad of Sebastian, I'm going to read this to you. And you can always go listen after this. Okay. So Katie says she called her husband 3 minutes, her husband being Chris, the stepdad, 3 minutes in when she couldn't find Sebastian in the house, but changed it in a different interview, saying that she drove around outside. Again, I told you that that was confirmed. The whole driving around outside was confirmed by somebody who definitely knows the facts. Katie told Seth when she woke up Monday morning, he wasn't in his room. When Seth was off work, he had missed calls and texts from Chris, which I think it's kind of odd that, is that right? That Chris was the one that texted Seth instead of Katie? Maybe he did. Okay. Seth received the messages around 6:20 a.m., but he got the messages at 7:20 in his truck. He was there at 8 a.m. Home was clean, no forced entry signs, nothing stolen as far as he knows, no motion sensor lights on the home. From his understanding, Katie put him to bed Sunday night. Sorry, guys. Let me drink a little water. All right. Sebastian is in the Why We Try program, where they get a little extra time and a little less questions. Sebastian is smart, likes to control his environment, likes routine, likes things in a certain order. Seth isn't sure what his reaction would be talking to a stranger. So let's just say if some weirdo on the bus or in one of these moments where he is away from mom, if mom and stepdad really did have nothing to do with it, like could somebody have sought him out, groomed him, that kind of thing? Could he have been talking to somebody like on the bus? I just keep thinking bus for some reason, if that's even a possible scenario. So yeah, Seth says he isn't sure what his reaction would be talking to a stranger. But if somebody gets to know him really well, I'm sure he would feel pretty comfortable, just from what I pick up. Seth verifies Sebastian was alive and well on Thursday. And here I am to say he was alive and well even up to Sunday night. Anything after 9 p.m., I think it was 9:08 p.m. on Sunday night, is all a big question mark. Even after, 3:10 specifically is a huge question mark when those lights were seen. I just think there's more to the lights. I don't know why. I just do. Okay, Seth verifies he was alive. It is also mentioned Seth saw him whenever Sebastian wasn't in school at every chance possible under the law. Katie says around 6 to 6:20 a.m. she went to wake Sebastian. Video flashlights was at 3:10 a.m. Missing his key. Okay, and he was missing his keychain flashlight. It is the only item missing of Sebastian's. They're hypothesizing he took it with him. All right. When his shoes not being taken with him is brought up, Seth says his 3 pairs of shoes Sebastian owned were at the front door. His feet were growing, so Katie gets rid of his shoes that don't fit. A kid's not, come on. Is he going to leave the house with no shoes on? Does that make sense? Could the kid sleepwalk? I don't know. Listen, this has everybody stumped. I'm sure everybody who knows the details is pretty stumped. And I know a lot of us are like, mom, it's the mom, it's the mom, it's the stepdad. But just in case it's not, this is the most bizarre case I've ever heard of in my life. All right. Sebastian has no social media, but does have a cell phone. And the cell is at Katie's and Chris's house. He has limited access to his phone. Nancy comments they need forensics on Sebastian's phone. Most of the time, Seth says the phone is plugged in on counter in the kitchen. They claim like he has no internet access. So how would he have chatted with somebody? How would he have gotten the heads up to, hey, I'm going to come at 3:10. You be ready, you know, you be waiting. No shoes. Like the story doesn't make sense, right? It just doesn't. All right, canines couldn't pick up scent outdoors, so Nancy thinks he didn't ever leave the house walking himself, especially with no shoes. Canines should have been able to pick up multiple scents if he left on foot. Regarding his last seen clothing, Katie said that's what he was wearing when he went to bed, or in what he went to bed in. Flashlights were very close to the home. Right behind it, a neighbor had posted in a Facebook group that if you walked by her home and Sebastian's, her motion sensor light would have went off. And you don't see that in the video footage. Yeah, you see just what I see is just two different flashlights. They seem to like I said, it's almost like they get close to each other. So weird, man. I don't know. Authorities said they received several videos, including the flashlight one. Hopefully something surfaces soon that sheds light on what actually happened here. And take a look at that. Okay, so Kara, are you saying that they haven't said that yet? All right. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do it. Help this video circulate in the algorithm. My videos are being possibly suppressed a little bit. I don't know. I know a lot of people aren't getting notifications from me, so please help me. Iked Mel is showing it? What? Hold on. Iked Mel is showing it. She's arrested. No way. No way. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Okay, guys, if it's juicy, I'm going to be back on here with a Madeline Soto live stream, okay? Thanks, guys, so much. Have a wonderful day. If I don't see you in the next few minutes, I got to see what's going on. Take care. Lots of love to you and yours. Thanks for being here. Bye.